Have you ever looked at an artist's work and thought, I would love to draw like this? Maybe it's their style, their use of color, or the way they use light. Hey, Joshua here. Let's talk about master studies. A master study is an intentional way to practice where an artist replicates or analyzes a piece of work created by a master artist with the goal of improving their own art. A master artist is simply an artist whose work you'd like to learn from. This could be a historically significant figure like John Singer Sargent, Norman Rockwell, or Frank Frazetta, or artists you find insanely skilled. A few of mine are Jin Kim, Jennifer Park, and Cameron Mark. However, making art that's a direct copy isn't enough. True learning happens when you break down and understand the choices the original artist made. Let's do a master study. I'll be focusing on Cameron Mark. He's a character designer in the animation industry whose work I adore for its incredible expressiveness and appeal. If you want to soak in the work of a true pro, just check out his Instagram page. In this study, I'm trying to understand how he uses proportions to maximize appeal and study the way he uses lines to achieve this sketchy but complete style. Okay, first things first, I'm just trying to rough in the most important features. Later, we'll move on to the details. In this stage, I'm looking carefully at the relationships between features and trying to get as close to what I'm seeing as possible. I'm noticing myself doing certain things out of habit, but the entire point of the master study is to reel in some of those habits and absorb new or more important ones. Now let's get to the details. I'll knock down the opacity, go to a new layer, and start with the eyes. I find it really unique how he draws eyes. It's quite different from the way I do it. Generally, I'll put eyelashes together in one solid piece, but he tends to draw them in clumps, and I love how this looks. I'm going to start using this to create variance among my characters. Secondly, the way he drew highlights on this particular piece. A cursory glance through his page shows me that this is something he does quite a lot. He tends to draw highlights as triangles or lines. I mostly see this in really cartoony styles, but it looks great on a more realistic style. It's something I admire, but don't plan on incorporating into my style. Part of the joy of doing these is just to appreciate the way the artist does it. You don't have to take everything. Okay, this is important. While you're making a rough drawing, try your best not to be overly bound by it. If you see something you didn't quite get right, you don't need to carry over mistakes from your rough drawing to your clean drawing. Generally, you should try to solve all the problems with your rough drawing before moving on to your clean drawing. But in this case, I didn't. So since I already know that my rough drawing is not perfect, I'm making a conscious effort to adjust it in the cleanup layer. I'm correcting things like the nose and the mouth because I know they weren't correctly placed in my rough drawing. This jawline differs from how I typically draw them. For female characters, I tend to draw smooth and rounded jawlines. My fear is that it would make them look too masculine, but I should probably loosen up because she looks pretty feminine to me here. The hair is really interesting. I think I might adopt something similar for my sketchy art. It was fun to do this part because I almost never get to draw hair in this style. I usually just form it into a couple of big globs or chunks, and that's it. I also like the way he uses hatching lines for shading. That's another thing I'm excited to experiment with in my own work. I've noticed that sometimes I make this mistake when drawing a head tilted downward, placing the back of the head too low. I quickly corrected that. I'm also trying to stay as close to the shading method as I can, but within reason because I don't want to spend too long on one study. Studies typically take longer than regular drawings because of the mental effort involved throughout the process. It's interesting to note that although his style is quite realistic, you can still see how he forms the hair into individual clumps of varying sizes instead of singular hair strands. In this final stage, I'm looking carefully at my reference and correcting things on my drawing. Now, even while you're moving things around in this stage, you want to recognize that some of these mistakes will be based on your style and some will be actual mistakes. So you need to pay attention at this stage to know which is which. What you're trying to do here is notice what you tend to do and how the master does those same things. And that'll generally lead you through a more impactful study. And here is the final study. Apply what you've learned. Try creating original work inspired by the master's style. This was a challenge we explored in the 2 previous videos. Credit the original artist if you share your study publicly. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye.